All right, good evening, everybody. I want to answer this question from our friend Mark Levy. Um, he asked, what about those kids whose talents don't lie in analysis of legal discourse such as Mishnah and Gemara, but rather in science, economics, language, music, or art, for example? Won't they be at a disadvantage? In other words, some kids will thrive in ultra-Orthodox schools, and others might struggle due to the narrow curriculum and have to start from scratch once they leave school in order to pursue a career in a particular field as mentioned above. Jewish education is very important, and so is helping a child do well in a particular area they are talented in or keen on going into when they are adults. I don't see how anything that I said goes against that. I'm not saying, my main point here, respectfully and lovingly, is that parents can decide this. We don't need the government to tell private schools, you do it this way, you do it that way, because the parents are deciding to send those children to those private schools, and they can decide not to send them to those private schools. And it's not for the government to say, you have to offer this or that. Not only that, but within the Hasidic and certainly yeshivish and modern Orthodox schools, there's a big plethora of different schools, and the parents can pick which schools they want to send to. Now, if they're choosing because of social pressure, peer pressure to send to a particular school, well, that's the parents' decision. It's not for the government to go and say, oh, you should send to this school or that school. This is a private issue. This is a family issue. And the thing is, again, if a parent sees that their child, as far as music or art, the same thing, even if you're going to public school, even though there are music and art classes, they generally supplement those with other things. And there are plenty of musicians in the ultra-Orthodox community, and, their parents pay for music lessons separately than the school lessons, and that's how, or they pick it up on their own or whatever else. And the same thing, art lessons or whatever else they want to do. And there are a lot of very accomplished Hasidic musicians, that's always been so, and as far as the other parts, the other aspects, again, if a child has, science, language, economics are in the Gemara. That stuff is, and so is music and art, really, truthfully. But beyond that, of course, you supplement with other things, but it's not the government's place to go and say, you have to do it this way. It's more the government that's pushing the one size fits all than the plethora of many different ultra-Orthodox schools that parents are choosing perhaps to send their kids to. It's I trust the parents more than I trust the government on these things, and I think that really comes down to the crux of this issue: is who do we trust more? Do we trust parents or do we trust the government? And in general, the left, they trust the government. The right or the American right, are really the real liberals here, trust the parents more and have a more of a classical liberal or libertarian view, which are two different things, but they're similar, saying let the parents decide, and then when the child is 18, he doesn't like what his parents did, let the child can decide the same, like everyone else in America and the world. We're just like everybody else, but more so. That's what it comes. We're not different than anybody else. It's all the same. If you go to a Catholic school, you go to a Muslim madrasa, you go to an evangelical Protestant school, you're going to have these different things that might not be exactly the same, and then the same thing. So, if a child has special needs, they have special schools to help them out with all these different things. And a lot of the special needs schools do offer the art, the music, and the other things for the kids who, quote unquote, don't fit into the regular yeshiva milieu. I mean, one of my sons is in a program like that. So, he tried it out. He was in Satmar. It didn't work for him. And he went somewhere else, and he's in a Hasidic program where it's totally tailored for his needs. It's, it's a sunrise program. And, I'm disappointed that he's not getting off of a Jewish education, but he's in a Hasidic school where he's pretty much getting what he wants, which is more secular studies, and they're catering around his needs and interests and so forth, which are mostly artistic, and that's what he does. So, and this is a Hasidic school. So, that's what it is. And then the chutzpah of the New York Times to go and say that people who don't really have special needs are getting special ed and this and that, which is not true. I know my kids, they need these programs and they didn't fit into the regular, and they're getting the programs that they need. And there's nothing illegal or immoral or anything about that. We're following the laws, we're following the rules. We're dotting every I, we're crossing every T, we're doing what we're supposed to do. And it's just that there is a bias against, really, I think the real thing is, it's a bias because we support President Trump, and so that's why, it seems like Rabbi Teitelbaum, Satmar Rebbe, is getting scared that, we're going to face more persecution because of this, and so he's telling people to tone it down a bit, because we're dealing with really dangerous people when it comes to Democrats. They're really, they are the party that inspired the Nazis, if you study history, and so we have to figure out a way to deal with that, because unfortunately they've seized power, and we're really in 1937 Germany right now in America, and certainly we have the most Hitler-esque president ever in American history with Joe Biden. It's really, really scary. He's worse than even Woodrow Wilson and FDR and all these other really LBJ, even Obama. He's really, really dangerous. People were comparing him to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was harmless compared. He was just a bumbling fool. This guy is acting like he's a bumbling fool, but he's really destroying this country on purpose because he hates America. He's really the Manchurian candidate. And now we're finding all of these documents that were in a communist government. I don't like to say even Chinese communist, because the Chinese people are the victims of those communists that stole their country from them in 1949. I don't understand how England gave Hong Kong back to them. That's not who they got it from. England didn't get Hong Kong from the communists. If anything, give Hong Kong to Taiwan, to real China. Or just make Hong Kong independent, but give it back to the communists. That's what we're dealing with. That's the dangers. And here you have someone who's made billions of dollars off of his connections to the Communist Party, and and they're saying, it's Russian disinformation, this laptop, and they're like, and why do we care what Hunter Biden is doing in his private life? It's sad he's on drugs and this and that. Why are we picking on him? That's not what this is about. This is about the big guy. This is about the corruption. You make what, $180,000 a year as a senator? How does he have all these mansions and this and that? Did he ever own a business? Did he ever do anything? No, he's just peddling influence as the vice president and as a senator, and having a son who has no experience. All of a sudden he's on the boards of these companies just to get a foot in the door of the White House. This is treasonous. And this is what we're dealing with, and instead they're going after President Trump for what legally he's allowed to have. He's allowed to, as the president, even going out the door, he's allowed to declassify any documents he wants. He's the president. Vice president doesn't have that power. Senator doesn't have that power. Um, and we only find out about all this 6 years later. It's crazy stuff. It's wild stuff, and it's this, and there's nothing new under the sun. LBJ did a lot more corrupt things than Nixon ever did, but he got away with it because the media was shilling for the Democrats then, and it's the same thing. There, the things that that they made the big deal, the Teapot Dome scandal, and Nixon and all this stuff, those were baby stuff compared to all the stuff Obama did, all the stuff LBJ did, all the stuff JFK did, all the stuff that FDR did, all the stuff Wilson did, all this stuff Obama did. But they get covered for. They say that the chutzpah. These historians, like, they put down Calvin Coolidge, who was the greatest president in, other than perhaps Lincoln, and Washington, and they say, oh, he's mediocre, this Silent Cal, and they pick on him and they make fun of him. That's a real president, is Calvin Coolidge. We gotta keep cool with Coolidge, and we need a new man like Calvin Coolidge again. We could sure use a man like Calvin Coolidge again, not like Woodrow Wilson, not like any of these traitors, but we need a man like Calvin Coolidge who's going to reduce the size of the federal government and follow the Constitution and keep the oath of office as the oath of office. That's what we need. So, and it's the same problem here. We're getting into big government, trying to get into our house, trying to get into our family, trying to take away power from parents to educate their children like they want to, even though the Supreme Court in the Yoder decision said that the parents can raise their kids according to their religion, even if it's different than what other people do. And yet we're dealing with this type of stuff, So, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. We've got to get to the Kedushas Levi, right? Before we get home, hopefully. The rain is kind of scary, but it is what it is. That's why I want to be able to see the road, and that's why I don't have to screen a little brighter. So, not that there's anything much to see me. I don't care about that. I just want my voice to be heard. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, and we'll see you later. And hit the bell button if you don't have it yet. And if you do, don't hit it again, because that'll turn it off, right? All right, we'll see you later.